Good. What's up, Facebook? And everyone on Facebook. Dustin, are you done texting?
No, I think I am.
All right. Waiting on Dustin.
And I don't think you're just waiting on me.
No, I'm going to share this. Guys, this is episode 69. And the mature studio audience thinks it's amazing.
I mean, I think it's pretty amazing.
That's pretty funny.
That's
68,
awesome.
70.
The maturity level is astounding. We've got Tyler Jones, who was not on camera, but he was here when Ricky Rodriguez was here not too long ago. Dustin Bovey's back. And we are, once again, unfortunately missing Jake. Jake will be back on in 2 weeks. He is working at the shop, as we mentioned last week. So he'll be back by the garage after 9. Might catch him on the end of the episode. But tonight we're going to be drinking something very special from Tyler. It is a special Willet, small release. It's the Saints and Sinners bottle, right?
That is correct.
So if you guys got Willet and you have it at home, definitely maybe crack that bottle or pop it open. And we're going to be smoking something also from Crowned Heads, and it is from Stogie Smoke Stop.
Correct.
Which is where Tyler's home shop is, basically in Dayton. Right? Dayton?
Dayton, Huber Heights.
Huber Heights, Ohio, about an hour and a half?
Hour 20.
Hour and 20.
Yeah.
So Tennessee Waltz, something special for us, and we'll get into that. So definitely share. I'm going to do that here as we get started. And Dustin, how was your week?
Well, it was pretty good.
Good.
Busy, bit stressful, everything going on.
We'll get into that.
Yeah, we will. Spent some time at another store, which was good. Kind of get out of my own element and help with that project. Yeah.
Good.
So I went and spent half the week at the store in New Albany, which went through a remodel. So they had their rebrand opening.
I feel like everyone was there.
Yeah. Literally everyone who was anyone was there. So real busy, but it was good to get out of my own store and do something a little bit different.
Good. All right. You guys ready? We'll get into your week.
Let's do it.
Do you want to do the Jake thing?
Yeah.
Do not do it with a glass that's on the table. You gotta have it.
Ready?
Oh, that'll work.
Ready? All right.
It's the water.
There you go. Woo. Thank you, Dustin. We are live on Facebook, guys. Welcome to the podcast. We are episode 69. We are going to be talking about cigar culture tonight. We got Tyler Jones with us from, we just said, a Dayton area.
Yes.
And we've got Dustin Bovey on as well. It's been a while,
Sure.
Dustin.
It's been a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's been going on?
Well, a lot of good things. Work was smooth last week, a little stressful this week, but closed on our first home on Friday afternoon.
That's amazing.
Really excited. Thank you. Yeah, we're very excited for it. It'll be a lot of hard work. We've already done a lot of stuff. It doesn't seem like much, but a lot of stuff so far to get things ready, and leaving for vacation very soon. So a lot of big stuff.
Where are you heading on vacation?
We're actually going down to Orlando, Florida. Spending a week at Universal.
Nice.
Yep, going to be at Harry Potter World. It's a whole big package.
Potter World.
Yeah.
Are you a Harry Potter fan?
I like Harry Potter. Yeah.
I've never seen any of them.
Kathy's a huge Harry Potter fan, and Cadence is as well. So
never watched the last 3. Didn't really. I lost interest.
How many are there?
Was there like 7?
Technically, 8 movies because they split the last one in half.
I think like the Robert Pattinson one was like the last one I saw.
He's in one?
Yeah, he played
Goblet of Fire.
Goblet of Fire. Is that it?
Thanks, Nate.
Nate would know.
There you go.
Nerd.
Nate would know.
No, Liz got a tattoo that's inspired by Harry Potter. So
okay.
Yeah, that was an adjustment period for me.
Sweet.
Yeah.
You just don't look at it, do you?
We're not going to get into that. We're not going to get into location. Anyways, we are going to be talking about cigar culture tonight. We've got a special bottle that Tyler brought, some special cigars. Tyler, what did you bring here? What's the Willet we got?
So what we have here is a 6-year single barrel rye from Willet. This was only made and distributed through the Saints and Sinners Club, which if any of you know the Saints and Sinners Club, it's a pretty much a private fan club for Tatuaje, Atelier, and Surrogates. Our patriarch Pete Johnson went down to the Willet Distillery. He's very fond of the Willet Distillery.
He is.
And he picked out a couple barrels and really didn't have a choice on which bottle we got. So there was 2 bottles. You either got a 109 proof or you got a 122 proof. I believe they're both 6 years. There's like this one's hand numbered 102 or 146. So only 146 of the 122 proof was made. So it's pretty special, and I figured what a better time to bring it on and hopefully drink a lot of it than tonight.
Absolutely. So we appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to pour some now.
Yeah, why don't you pour some in this glass too?
I will.
I appreciate that. And thanks again to Stogie Smoke Stop for being a sponsor of this episode with Tennessee Waltz. Guys, check them out. We've got the Monty by AJ as well on the table. That's going to be from Altadis, so thank you, Altadis, for sponsoring us and the support.
Josh
Bentley, Paul Waller, and then also Tinder Box at Easton, always sponsoring us as well with sticks when we don't have it from another shop. So we appreciate that. I've got BS Cigars here as well. That's
good to share the love.
Absolutely. So tell me about the Willet that we're doing here. As far as, like, you told us about Saints and Sinners, how long have you been a part of the Saints and Sinners, and what exactly is it? I know Pete Johnson started it every year. You get like a coin, right, or something like that.
Right.
Have a coin.
So Saints Sinners, for lack of better words, he puts it himself like this. It's practically a fan club for people who really enjoy the whole Tatuaje experience you get when you smoke a cigar coming from that company. Saints Sinners. It's a fan club. You get access to a forum. Every year, you renew every year. My renewal is coming up here soon.
You pay for that? I mean, what is it?
So you pay like this year it actually got bumped up because now contributions towards Saints and Sinners is going towards CRA, Cigar Rights of America.
Oh, nice.
So you're going to get a CRA membership if you don't already have one, or you're just going to get another one with signing up automatically. So usually it's like $150, I want to say, but now with shipping and everything, I think it rounds out to about $200. But it gives you access to the forum that we have that's kind of archaic, but it's pretty cool because it's a bunch of guys that love the same thing, talk about that culture.
Yeah.
And it's a whole bunch of cigar lovers that all pretty much appreciate the fine craft the Garcia family does in their tobacco. And
some of the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And you all get, part of the membership, the forum. There's a bunch of topics listed underneath the forum, and you can comment on everything. You got some characters in that group for sure.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah, you definitely do.
I don't doubt it.
I actually just saw a couple Saints Sinners guys up in Akron this weekend. So everybody kind of like, because they'll put up like the events that Tatuaje is holding or wherever they're going to be, and usually like we had one guy from Pittsburgh, a couple from Rochester, New York.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool to see a bunch of people coming from a bunch of different areas to celebrate the culture that we all enjoy.
What's this coin thing too? Like,
it's pretty much a challenge coin.
But because I saw Pete Johnson last, I want to say at Cigar Fest. Brad he's in the garage,
so
you got it. And what's the whole challenge thing? Like, if you see them and you pull out your coin,
right? So
they don't have it, and then they have to do something, right?
It was kind of originated by the military, if I understand right. Like when I graduated, I'm in the Air Force, so whenever I graduated tech school, you get an airman's coin.
Yeah.
That's kind of like your signature piece that you have that no one can ever take away from you unless you lose it. That you are a United States Airman, and so it comes from that. So if you're like at a bar or something and you want to, there's other military guys there or whatever, you slap your coin down and be like, all right, here you go. You got your coin. If they don't have a coin, they have to buy you a drink. Or in this case, if you don't have your Saints Sinners coin, you own a cigar.
Yeah.
You don't have theirs. But for the most part, I think everybody pretty much carries theirs.
Brad, you got yours on you?
Nope.
There we go. There we go.
I like it. And so, what do you guys think of this whiskey? I mean, I like Willet. We've had Willet before, different Willets.
Yeah.
The regular 3-year rye that they used to produce, I know, is one of my favorites. Now the regular one is the 4-year. I've had some bottles of that, tried some of that. I still prefer the bottles I've had of the 3-year. I don't know about you guys.
So I have 2 bottles of the 4-year. I've not opened either of them yet.
Okay.
No, they're, actually I stand correct. I think I have a third, but 2 are the same. They were from the distillery. One's not going to get opened because it was actually signed by the master distiller, Drew.
All right.
There you go.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. But I also, like you, Steve, love the 3-year. I've loved everything that they've produced. I have my one and only Family Estate Bourbon, which is a 5-year.
Right.
It was a Party Source pick.
Nice.
Not been open yet, but the one that I have tried, which was a 13-year, was hands down, as Brad would say, lights out. It's
Lights out.
everything you could ever imagine in like a perfect bourbon.
Right.
It's just amazing.
The thing I like about this is that, you know, the fact it's 122 proof, but
Yeah.
when you're drinking it, you'd think it may be 100.
Yeah,
So I
doesn't have a whole lot of burn.
No.
It's got a little bit. If you let it kind of sit in your mouth, swish around, obviously you're going to feel it.
Yeah.
The finish lingers. It sits on the back of my tongue. But it has, for a rye, a lot more sweetness to it than the 3-year does, I think.
Yeah.
You still get that kind of the spicy note.
The warm spice.
Yeah, the
for
warm
sure.
spice, your clove, and a little bit of cinnamon.
Yeah.
But I think this has a lot more of that nice warm vanilla versus the younger 3-year does.
What do you think? You said you drank most of that, right?
Yeah,
You
I've had
shared
about
it, or-
half the bottle.
All right.
Yeah, my roommate actually has been able to enjoy some. That's for sure. But
Yeah.
I've had pretty much most of this bottle already. So the thing I get out of it that I like it so much is when you first sip it, you get that sweetness right at the top end, and then you get that vanilla. But when you finish it off, you get that nice warm burn, and it doesn't go past that.
No.
It's just smooth.
It lingers a bit, which I like.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of a finish, but it's not anything that's gonna, make you wait a good
No.
while for the next sip.
I think you guys are spot on with the sweetness, because I don't get as much sweetness from like the 3 years that I really like. That's more of like that warm spice, like I always described with Christmas Day.
Yep.
Yeah, that's my whole thing with that. That rye, and I also really like E.H. Taylor straight
Yeah.
rye.
Yeah,
That's got a
also
very
good.
similar characteristic, in my opinion, when you put those two back to back. So just can't find them anywhere, unfortunately. And Willet, for those of you guys that are in Ohio, if you don't know, they are obviously in Kentucky. They do not distribute to Ohio,
No.
which is heartbreaking.
It is.
Sad.
It
It's
is.
very
Very
sad. It's typically more limited production stuff too. I mean, like as far as even like the pot still and their regular production,
Right.
you can go down to places like Party Source, like one of these big liquor
Right
stores,
on the border.
and they will be sold out half the time. You go in, you're like, what Willet stuff do you have in? They're like, nothing.
Right.
And I mean, this is a gigantic. I mean, it's like a Kmart sized liquor store. It's ridiculous. If you guys don't know Party Source, check it out. It's not too far from Columbus, and again, it's near that area on your way down. We did not the Bourbon Trail, but we hit a couple of those distilleries. Jake and I did, and Alicia. And on the way back, we hit that up, Party Source.
One hell of a cigar humidor too.
It is. It's a nice cigar shop in the middle of that. Wasn't what I expected though.
Yeah, you really.
It's like just like a part of it. It's like just a room.
Yeah, it's so it's like you walk in and you got your Perdomo wall, your Fuente wall, of course. You guys, those are just some of the staples in the industry, and then you've got pretty much the rest of the just hundreds, thousands of cigars, and probably not hundreds, but more like thousands. But
Got a lot.
Yeah, they got a lot. And then they got their little. They're an anomaly, I think, when it comes to cigar sales, especially price point wise, because they've got some of the lowest prices that you'll ever see anywhere, even online. I think they beat most online places.
Really?
And I think that contributes to the fact that it's more of a party liquor store, so they don't really have to charge probably as much as other people, like just lone cigar shops and stuff like that. But I mean, you'll find stuff in their $5 area, like behind where their counter is, where their humidor manager usually sits.
Right.
Who is a good friend of mine, Bob Schiller, and you'll find stuff over there that's discounted ridiculous. Like you can find El Wednesday Lanceros over there for $5.
Wow.
And you're just like, that's like a $12 stick. Like,
They're doing that because it's not selling though.
Right.
I don't understand.
There is that.
I don't
but
think
then
they're doing it out of the goodness of their heart. I mean,
No.
they tried to sell it at $12, $13.
Right.
And it didn't, like whatever it might be, not El Wednesday only, but anything
Right.
like that. I mean, we do something similar, when things are slow to sell. I mean, we'll put something on special, but
Yeah.
I have been down there and I agree. Some of their deals, or if they have Like they had the Murcielago, the red Murcielago, and on sale for like $6 a stick for several months because they were just getting rid of the old stock.
Right.
Yeah.
So
that was at the time when the new Murcielago came out.
right. Exactly right.
That's one place I've not been is party stores.
Really?
Yeah. But I need to make a trip down
It's like
there.
heaven, man.
Oh, absolutely. And I need to make another trip down to the Bourbon Trail. I went last summer. It was amazing. Loved it. And Willet was one of the places we went. And you know, he knows me. I'm obsessed with Willet. And so when we went,
I'm glad you get to.
I know. I'm extremely excited for it. But when we went down, you know, that was one of the stops on the second day. And of course, you know, the group that I went with, we all went to college together and marched together at OU.
That's right. Yeah.
And of course, the moment we left the distillery prior to that and was headed to Willet, they were all, you know, making fun of me for it because I'm all like excited, like a little kid in a candy store, you know.
Yeah.
So it was really, really a cool experience. And I think one of the things that stood out to me with Willet is that it's such a small production compared to a lot of the other distilleries.
Yeah.
But it's such a high demand. That's why you don't see a lot of their products on the shelves because they sell out so quick.
Right.
One of the figures that really still, you know, stands out is if you think about it, your Jim Beam and your Heaven Hills, they crank out about 2,000 barrels a day.
Right.
You know, worth of production, and Willet does 20.
Yeah.
And they haul it in a pickup truck from one place to the rick house.
Yeah.
So
that's why I call small batch.
Yeah. Well, and they're actually part of the craft Bourbon Trail.
Okay.
So
what's that for everyone out there?
So what that is, because there's so many different distilleries popping up anymore. There's so many smaller distilleries, what they call craft distilleries. It's essentially the same thing along the lines as a craft brewery. You know, smaller scale, they might have a variety of stuff. You don't see a lot of their stuff on the shelves.
Right.
If you do, it's very local to where they're at, or specifically only at that distillery or brewery. So when they're doing the actual Bourbon Trail, they have the normal ones, which they add some to every once in a while. But then they started a craft Bourbon Trail, which has a lot of your smaller distilleries on it, like Willet. I think Boone County might be listed on there.
Nice.
There's a good handful of others too that some I had never heard of, at least at the time. I've got the little booklet. It's got its own little passport. So you can get your stamps in, just like the regular one.
That's something you can say forever, you know.
Yeah, and you can always go back. You can, you know, try more and, you know, get your stamps, fill your passport, whatever it may be. So I wish I would have brought that with me. It'd been really cool to see what other distilleries there are and which ones we've tried that might be either on the craft distillery or the regular actual Bourbon Trail.
You can always contact Rolling Barrel Tours who are around here.
This is very true.
I think they might know a thing or two about it.
They might have a general idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so we all like the Willet. What's going on with the cigar? You brought this, Tyler. You want to tell us about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you mentioned before, these cigars were brought to us by the Stogie Smoke Stop down in Huber Heights, Ohio. So if you guys are ever in the Dayton area and you want to stop by a nice cigar lounge and, you know, friendly people, great atmosphere, and just fun time, stop by there.
You now have a caboose there?
That is correct. Robbie just moved a caboose over there just a couple miles down the road to where he got it from. And yeah, he's got this whole master plan for it, so it should be pretty
Does
cool.
anyone know what that master plan is besides him?
Oh, I've heard it plenty of
Okay.
times.
Is it a smoking train?
So the whole idea of it is that he wants to build like an old school like freight station next to it, and he wants to like build a patio / platform kind of next to it, so you can, you know, do some outside events, stuff like that. And there's also been some talk about maybe selling some fine spirits out of it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I see.
So it's definitely, it's not going to come anytime soon, but you know,
It's a thought in progress.
Yeah, it's progress. So it's the next step. It's been a dream of his to have his own caboose because we have a train style theme to the shop, and he got it finally done. So
Not many cigar shops have cabooses.
no, not
I
many.
feel like
Not many.
I haven't seen many.
No, it's pretty cool too.
Yeah,
You just go drive back there and be like, "Here's the caboose."
that's right. All right, so the cigar.
So the cigar. So what we're smoking is the Crown Heads Tennessee Waltz. The cigar's got a Connecticut broadleaf wrapper with Nicaraguan binder and filler made at the My Father factory by the fine folks of the Garcia family down there, who are masters of tobacco, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think they do some of the best stuff in the industry, especially when it comes to Nicaragua, and especially with some of the other companies they do work for. And they definitely do. They are definitely craftsmen at what they do.
I love the broadleaf that they use.
The broadleaf, I think they hit broadleaf some of the best in the industry. Them between the Jaime Garcia to me is just a phenomenal cigar for just a low price point.
Yeah.
Not low, but it's kind of like that.
It's underrated too.
Very. I think it's so underappreciated.
Yeah.
It's got some kick to it too. It'll sneak up on you a little bit.
Yeah.
But between Jaime Garcia, Cowboy Guan, Maduro that Pete does, that's also another phenomenal broadleaf. The El Triunfador, which is very small batch. Not a whole lot of produced every year. It's very limited, but when you get one, it sits in the back of your mind. But yeah, they do great stuff with broadleaf, and I thought this is another one that they knocked out of the park for the.
There's something on this one. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that they make. Like La Dueña, I think, has a little bit of this wrapper flavor.
Yeah.
I know. Are you smoking one, Nate?
Waltz?
Yeah. Smoking a Waltz, and you're not. Brad's not, but
smoking a Mica Rita, though.
He's smoked plenty of the Tennessee Waltz over the years, and I always get. I don't know how they do it or what it is about this tobacco, but there's like a salty, sugary, like almost like, and it's not like you have coming off, but I mean it is. It's
potent.
But it's like very, very food flavor. I mean, it's like, as you're smoking, you get there's that sweetness, the sugary and everything. I get it on a lot of their, like I said, La Dueña, this one, the Yellow Rose as well has that a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys, did you get that at all, Dustin?
I get a lot of sweetness. That was one of the things I was going to point out about this is it's got a nice full flavor. Mm-hmm. The wrapper on this is absolutely gorgeous. I was talking to Tyler about that before I lit it up. It's got that kind of, I don't say crystallization around the outside, but it's still like a nice velvety smooth texture around it. But it smokes so smooth. There's almost no pepperiness to it whatsoever. And it's just definitely more of that sweetness like you were talking about. Which, looking at it, you get that misconception. It's a nice, dark, fuller body cigar. You're going to think, oh, it's going to be powerful. It's going to punch you. You have some pepper, but you don't have that at all.
I really don't.
No, I mean, it's just like one of those cigars that there's not a whole lot of Connecticut Brawleys out there that you can just retrohale like full on Cuban retrohale. And this is definitely one of them because it's just so, I don't know if it's the aging they do to it or the way they process it. I mean, the Jaime Garcia I can retrohale it just as good, or just as,
there's the retrohale, everything you're saying. With this cigar, the thing I like about these are the ones that make me really fall in love with Connecticut broadleaf. And then there's other ones I feel like, and I don't know if it's because of the filler they're using or what batches of the Connecticut broadleaf, but there is a little bit sometimes like more of a drier finish, kind of like that I think more stereotypical like San Andres. As far as that tobacco. With this one, it's like I said, that's why I love the fact you were going to bring a different cigar to pair up with this rye, and then you're like, no wait, change of plans.
Yeah. And
when you do that with the food flavors I'm getting from the Willet and this, I think you hit this pairing.
Yeah, I think this is just one of those classic pairings that if you just need that go-to pairing, if you can accessibly get Tennessee Waltz and Willet Rye, I think it's just a slam dunk every time.
I think when you draw on the cigar and then you take a sip of the whiskey, it really pulls more of that spice out
of the
Willet, I think.
The Willet.
Because you don't have any of that in the cigar itself. So the sweetness of the cigar and what sweetness there is in the Willet kind of intertangle with each other.
Yeah.
So it changes your focus to that spice and that heat.
Yeah.
Which is odd.
I can see that. Yeah. So this one, we didn't really get into it a whole lot, but with it being Tennessee Waltz, why is it called that?
So this is a state exclusive to the state of Tennessee.
Very much like the Buckeye Land.
Pretty much like the Buckeye Land, or the Yellow Rose is exclusive to Texas. And the Paniolo is exclusive to this one shop down in Hawaii.
Yeah.
But the Tennessee Waltz, Crown Heads is based out of Nashville, Tennessee.
Right. And
when they started, the guys from them are from Crown Heads are all from the old days of CAO, and they were based out of Nashville at the same time, or same place. And when they started out, Tennessee and Nashville specifically took them, they were all in on Crown Heads when they first started out. So Crown Heads was like, here, we got to pay them respect for believing in us, taking a chance at us, and supporting us from day one.
Right.
So they ended up making the state exclusive for them, and I tell you, it's probably one of the best, probably exclusive cigars that you can get in the cigar industry.
Yeah, and so you could only get it in Tennessee for several years.
For several years, yes.
Same thing with Texas for that one, and then now Buckeye Land is this last year for us. But what happened recently, though, when I don't know how many years they've been doing it, but they've really made it more public recently that there's one day out of the year Crown Heads will allow shops, if you have a good account with them, that you can. It's called Lawless Day.
Correct.
Yeah, he was talking about that before we got started.
Yeah, exactly. So explain that.
So like once a year, 1 day a year, 1 day only, Crown Heads will release, let anybody in the country that's not in those respective states to order this cigar, or any of the other cigars that they do for state exclusives.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the fall area, I want to say it's like October 1st or November 1st, sometime
You're
during
right.
then.
Forget which month, but yeah, you're right.
But it's pretty much just so everybody else can get a chance to try it, how great these cigars are, because they are. I mean, if you don't live in Tennessee, that's a long haul to Tennessee from Ohio, no matter where you are in Ohio.
Yeah.
It's like a 5-hour drive, I think, from me, down in Dayton. But so this gives people accessibility to go out there, so they don't have to call someone from Nashville or Texas or wherever and be like, hey, can I get some Yellow Rose, and hope they can ship it to you.
Right.
And this just lets the door open fully for people to enjoy these smokes, because I think they could release this as a full-on regular production stick open to anyone. I think it would stand out in anyone's humidor.
Yeah.
But I think that's something that they're trying to keep special to those states. That's why they don't do that, is because with it being a state exclusive, they want to keep the cigar not small batch, but they don't want to make it so open that it loses its meaning.
Sure.
So they want to keep it special, so that's why they only 1 day a year they let anyone.
I think it's a fun program. I mean, with the Buckeye Land, when it came into our shop and that was getting announced and everything like that, we were getting calls from different states.
Right.
And, after a couple of weeks, we did start shipping out. We got our first batch, because it is something that is regularly available. It's a regular production
Right, it
cigar.
is regular production.
For us, like the Buckeye Land, we can get that anytime. We just order 2 boxes, 3 boxes, like whatever you need to do. It's not like the initial shipment. And they also do Crown Heads. I love the swag that they have. Like actually hanging up behind us here, that red and white hat next to the Asylum 13. That's the Crown Heads Buckeye Land. I mean, the whole marketing behind that.
They
that
took
cigar.
the Ohio Buckeye, the Ohio State Buckeyes O and all that, and kind of allegedly.
That's not a
It's
Buckeye.
a confirm or deny.
It's a C and an H.
C and an H. In kind of a
similar color scheme. I don't think it has anything to do with Ohio State.
Probably not.
No. But anyway, I love it because it is something that you're right. It makes it fun. It makes it, as opposed to just something you can always get. I mean, it's not necessarily like a very limited release as far as once a year, or like we get people coming in for like Opus or like the Añejo from Fuente, and like that's fine. But then when it gets so hard to be able to find a cigar that you like. And I get it that you don't always have the tobacco. You have to have the certain blends for some of those, and they are limited as far as their yield of crops for what they're using in that, and the age process, the rollers they're using. But when you make it so hard just to get it, like we talk about that with the bourbon all the time, you know what I mean? It's like, I get it's fun, but then when it's like, I just want to be able to smoke the cigar.
Yeah.
I just want to be able to, Eagle Rare right now in Ohio, like I know some people watching it in different states, you can find Eagle Rare easily all day long.
Buy at your grocery store probably in some states.
So, but like,
except for the one I found earlier.
Yeah.
But for us here in Ohio and stuff like that, the Eagle Rare, it's like you can't even get it. So it's like when you have a bottle and then you kill it or whatever, and you're just like, well, shit, now I don't have Eagle Rare anymore.
Right.
I mean, I think it's more frustrating than anything. That's why I do like the way they're doing this, is because if you want, you can call a shop in Tennessee, you can call a shop in Texas, and see if they'll ship you some.
Right.
But I don't know.
I think that with alcohol, I think it would be great if they could do something like that. But with it being so much more state regulated in so many other states, it does make it much more difficult.
Well,
but to your point, I agree with you, Steve. I really do. Being able to find those rare bottles is great. You know, it's really rewarding, especially when I come across something like, oh, great, you know, this is awesome. I've been looking for this, or I haven't seen this on a shelf anywhere.
Right.
You
It's
know,
like finding treasure.
Yeah, you know,
like,
that's one of the things. Like,
God.
I'm kind of excited to go to Florida. I know I'll be like at the resort and Universal a lot, but you know, it'd be kind of cool to go hit a couple shops and just see what I can find.
Something new to you that you might not have ever seen before. You're like, oh,
but one thing like with me, and I know Steve's the same way, and including Jake, is, you know, we find rare bottles or cooler bottles or different bottles like that, or something we've been looking for, we can't get our hands on. We want it because we want to drink it.
Right.
We want it. We may not kill it in a night, but we want to enjoy it,
right.
You know, or share it with people. And that's, I think, one of the luxuries of the whiskey and the cigars, and that, you know, where that kind of brings everything with that community aspect to it.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy it, and then obviously we've talked about how we talked about last week a little bit with the hobby thing, but then you have people that kind of abuse all that, and they hoard it, they sell things secondary and all that stuff, and it's like, I mean, I get that's the country we live in, that, you know, the hustle,
it's marketing.
Yeah, it's marketing.
It really is.
You know, if I have something you want to pay more for it, it's totally my right to be like, you know what, yeah, it's fine. I bought it for 40, and you know, I'll sell it to you for 60.
Right.
And they'll be like, done.
Capitalism, it's a beautiful thing.
Exactly.
It really is.
But Ohio is frustrating because it is something where, like, even if you do find like a bottle of liquor, you know, in California, something like that, they won't ship here.
And bringing it back to the Saints and Sinners thing, and part of the forum, you get access to, I'm sure you're well aware of the Monster series that Pete Johnson does.
Correct.
Well, one of the benefits of being on the forum is that if you're a member of Saints and Sinners, you get a list of all the authorized retailers that have the dress boxes for all which are the very nice, beautifully done.
The Lucky 13, right?
Yeah. You find out who the Lucky 13 are, and you can place your orders with them and reserve their box as a member of Saints and Sinners before anyone else. So you get that, because the whole thing is, like, if I'm like, oh, all I smoke is Tatuaje, and, you know, all I want is Tatuaje, and I can't find it anywhere, and I just want a dress box, and I want to get, you know, whatever I want, and you're just like, I can't find it anywhere in Alaska. Well, you sign up for Saints and Sinners, and you find out where all the limited stuff's heading to, and when the release dates are prior to everyone else.
And you can contact them and everything like that, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's pretty neat. It really is. I think one thing I noticed while you guys were talking, I was doing a little bit of chemistry work.
Chemistry? Science experiment?
Yeah, a little science experiment. So, you know, I mentioned how you take a draw of the cigar and you sip on the Willet, and all you really get is that spice, that heat.
Mm-hmm.
Do it vice versa, and it was really weird because you get that heat, and then you take a draw of that cigar, and it dissipates, and you get all that creaminess. It's
creaminess
like from the cigar, and it pulls some of that sweetness back out of the whiskey. It's an unusual.
I get that.
Backwards.
Yeah.
It
that
really caught me by surprise.
Yeah.
Because it's not something you typically get in a pairing. You know, usually they'll complement one another, they'll pull different things out. This is just like a complete flip.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing, man, about this whole hobby and everything. Just the stuff you can figure out, and it's just that. I mean,
I love it.
It's just trying new stuff too.
Right.
Yeah, and that's just one of the things, you know, I love about, you know, Whiskey Wednesday, or even if I'm at home trying something different, or you know, maybe pairing my favorite bottle with a different cigar. You know, you trial and error, and you see what matches, what doesn't. But you know, each week here, you know, we're trying a different bottle, we're trying a different cigar. We don't pick either based on the other by any means. 9 times out of 10, it's, you know, we don't know what the bottle is until we show up.
Right.
Or 30 minutes prior, or the night prior. Same goes with the cigar. You know, there's
typically.
I don't know how many, at least 50 to 75% of the time you don't pick the cigar until you're leaving the shop on Wednesday.
Most of the time, yeah. I mean, it would be the day of.
Yeah.
You know.
So
unless there's a reason, you know, obviously we have a certain guest.
But none of those times is it, well, what bottle are we smoking? You go look at the wall, okay, well, you know, this would go with it, you know, this might go with it. It's just, you know, we haven't done this one yet.
It's like a shot in the dark.
Yeah. It really is. You know, you're throwing
let's try this out, and hopefully it works. You know?
Yeah, unless it's, you know, the Oliva V and Booker's Backyard Barbecue, and then you just don't ever do that again.
No, don't do it. Don't do it. But I do like the fact you did put some, Tyler, you put some effort into this as far as pairing the thought.
Yeah, absolutely.
And once again, I mean, kudos to you, because I think these things are fantastic.
Yeah,
they really are.
I said this a couple times earlier, and Originally it was supposed to be La Flor Dominicana Cabernet Maduro. And, I thought that pairing went great. And I did it again, and I was like, this is missing something, because it's got the aged, Dominican filler, and yet it's full body, it's still, it's that Dominican, and I was just like, let's try something broadleaf, because that's broadleaf too, but let's try something with some Nicaragua in it. So I was like, I was just looking around, and I'm like, Tennessee Waltz would be perfect, because it's got that Nicaraguan filler and binder, and I figured it should pair better. I smoked it and enjoyed it a lot more.
The three of us, myself, you, and Jake, Steve, we all love Nicaraguan cigars.
Oh yeah.
Things that have a Nicaraguan filler and or binder in it. It just gives it such a different flavor that really brings you back to it. So kudos to you, Tyler. You did a fantastic job. And I would love to get my hands on some more Tennessee Waltz to try with some of the other Willet products that I've got.
Yeah.
I've got a 3-year and maybe crack open a 4-year, try with it. And even the pot still, I think would be interesting to try with it too.
We've got some right there if you want to try it.
That pot still is crazy good.
You don't need to thread it. It's a good time.
That pot still,
it's
got the cool genie bottle look to it.
Sadly, it's only half full. I super tired last night, and came home, and Liz has her brothers hanging out at the house for a couple weeks. He's home from the military, and super tired. I'm like, man, from Memorial Day, we were all hanging out at Jake's place, and that went late, and I drank the majority of a bottle of rum that day. I had the Ron Zagapa that Miguel brought on the podcast a while back. 23. And so then, last night I sat down and poured a drink, and I don't know what it is about whiskey. I don't know about with you guys, but with whiskey, when I'm tired, it's kind of like an energy drink. Like I get more awake until I run out of batteries, and then it's not a long-term energy. It is kind of like an energy drink because you drink more, you drink, but then I just kind of pass out.
I can see.
No one's disagreeing with that. Everyone in the garage is like, no, absolutely. I'm sure people out there watching are like,
you get the first few drinks, and
me fucking too.
The first few drinks kind of rejuvenation. You're like, this is pretty fucking good.
Shit happens,
And the third, fourth glass, and the next thing you know, you're hit by a freight train.
And next thing you know, you wake up and half the bottle's gone of the second bottle.
You're like, oh well, that just happened.
Yeah. But we can try that. I think we should try that.
I think that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Well, with the cigar culture, this was a suggestion from Tyler when we were setting all this up as far as topic goes, and I like the cigar culture. You can tell stories about the shops you're in, why you started smoking cigars, things that we kind of pepper in there every week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
especially when you meet someone new.
Yeah. I mean, like this connection here, like everyone in the garage, we always talk about, like everyone in this garage right now, we all met through cigars. I mean, these friendships most likely would have never happened with the social circles being so different, like with work and where you live and age differences, all that stuff. But the cigar is like that great equalizer when it comes down to conversation, and then you start to create bonds over a hobby. We talked about hobbies, and that's great. Yeah. And I'll say this, I like everything from like the farms side of it. I mean, you're talking about Willet, Dustin.
Yeah.
When I went to Willet, and it really reminded me of my trip to Connecticut when I went to the tobacco fields in Connecticut, because just the way it was like, this is over here, and then they transport it down the road over here, and everything's hanging in the barns, and then you walk over to the field. And Willet was kind of set up in a similar aspect, I feel like, where it's kind of like it's an open area. Then you got the rick houses, and then one, like they're literally rolling the barrels down. Everyone is, hand crafted as far as the barrels and every aspect
so close
of it.
Quarters there compared to a lot of the other distilleries.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things, just like you said, I love. You go to, we went to Maker's Mark, was the last stop that we done on the second day, and also a fantastic tour, fantastic facility, story, the whole nine. One of the things that stood out with me with that is you walk in, and I compared it to kind of like the Disneyland of distilleries because of the way it's laid out. there's little walk paths to the different
Yeah.
buildings. You know, it's literally like its own little town with all the different buildings. Each one, it's different. You know, you have your labeling house, you have your
Right.
bottling house, you have your dipping house, and then you have the one of the warehouses is in the side of a mountain. You know, where they store all the Maker's 46, and it's all temperature controlled, and it's all at 55 degrees.
There's a rhyme and reason for everything.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's like it's a town,
Yeah.
essentially.
Right.
And you go to Willet, where you can walk into the guest center or the gift shop,
Yeah.
and now like Rolling Barrels Tours had said, and when I went there, they're still working on the restaurant up top. Now it's open.
Mhm.
Right.
You can go there and you can eat.
Got a bed and breakfast
They've got a
there,
bed and
too.
breakfast there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were still working on it when I went last summer. That's all completed. But everything, you walk out of the gift shop, and not even 50 to 75 yards from that is where their still is. You know, and all their vats, and you know where the whole process goes down. You know, the bottling where they fill everything up. They fill the barrels, they fill the bottles. You know, it's right next to it or connected to the building.
Right.
You know, and then the rick house is walking distance to that. You know, we walked to everything, and it wasn't even a trek whatsoever. It was all within 100 yards total of each other.
Well, and that's the same way with the tobacco farms too, and that's what I like about it. Like I went down to Cuba with Brad. We had a podcast about that, and it's much the same. Like even before we get into the cigar culture like this, doing we try to translate kind of the cigar shop, in a sense, or hanging out with your friends and family in your garage on your patio smoking. But even before all that stuff, the cigar culture is very similar to that, where it's like when you go to the farms, everything is right there. And that's it's all encompassing. Some of these companies in Nicaragua, Honduras, they have their own box factory. Like Perdomo's got their own box factory, and a lot of these places do, because as you get bigger and it makes sense, and you're able to, thankfully, in a lot of these third world countries that these are taking place in, these are good jobs.
Yeah.
And so it's like you can employ more people, and you can do it all in house, and therefore hopefully, good for them on the business side of it. But then when it translates down the road to the consumer, their costs are going down, so they can try to maintain that value to the customer. Because I tell you, doing the whole BS project, it was like, simple things. When we were making boxes for those, it was, if you do it in Nicaragua, it's $5.50 a box.
Yeah.
Okay? If you did it in Miami, it was over $10 a box.
You can double that easily.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you do all that stuff, you make these choices, and I think it translates, but the culture... Dustin's going for the pot still.
He's going for the pot still.
Gotta do these science experiments. Come
Right,
on.
right.
So,
You can't tease me with and expect it not to happen.
but what I love about the whole the base, like the camp for cigars and the culture that are there, you see these workers, even like I said in Connecticut, these guys are in the fields, and because you see tobacco, it's very sticky, and so these guys are even in Connecticut, it was, when we were there, it was pushing 80, 90 degrees, and some of these guys in the field are in jeans, and they got, like, I remember one guy had a t-shirt on, he had like a long sleeve underneath that, he had a hat on, and but the other option is to, wear just a t-shirt or a tank top. Some of the guys were doing that, but I can only imagine going home at the end of the day and having to do that. I haven't seen it in Cuba, but in Connecticut, I know that in like one of the barns, basically, not the aging barn, but the actual like barn for the farm, they had like showers and everything else, because it's very, very sticky as far as that goes. But again, that's all part of that culture, is that's what they know to expect when it comes to that. So yeah, it's crazy thinking that you're out there working in tobacco fields in the sun for 10, 12 hours, and you are bundled up.
Right.
It sounds miserable.
It does, but at the same time, they're all, like you said, they expect that. They're used to that, in a sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, your body probably ends up training itself to where
Yeah,
it's like, no big deal.
Right now it's starting to get hot, and I'm like over here dying, walking around, and I'm used to wearing, pants and dress shirt, and long sleeves at work, and even in the store, it's hot with AC. But as some progresses, your body gets used to that, and it doesn't get as bad. I think it's the same when you get out to the farms. They're wearing the long sleeves, and a lot of that is probably just protection from the sun, in a sense, too.
Yeah. Got Phil Davis saying, I enjoy all your guys' BS. I wish I had more time to fact check you guys. Just believe everything we're saying, Phil.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's
We're
all
experts.
So,
We're experts, self-proclaimed.
That's right. That's right. So Tyler, let's get into the other part of the cigar culture, which is all of this. So tell everyone. I mean, you're 22.
I'll be 22 June 18th.
All right. So he is above age for drinking, just so you guys know. But
I'm sure there's probably some comments about that.
how did you get into this? Like, you were the one that brought up this. You have fully immersed yourself, if you will, in the cigar culture.
So probably back when I was around 11 or 12, I was hanging out with my dad. After we got done playing catch with baseball and all that, and he went upstairs into his humidor and he lit up an Opus X. And I can remember that day vividly because that was like one of the most heavenly smelling things I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
I just got it. I'm like, when I turn 18, I'm gonna start smoking cigars. Now,
How old were you?
How
old were you then?
11 or 12 probably.
Okay.
And I just was like, when I turned 18 at the time, I'm gonna start smoking cigars. So when I did turn 18, I did start smoking cigars. And it was kind of like a weekend thing, me and some buddies from back home, we would go out to, I'm from Geneva, Ohio, so we'd go over to Menor, Ohio, and go to the Menor Mall, go to a movie, stop at a cigar shop that was there. For whatever reason, Menor can't hold a cigar shop whatsoever, it seems like. This is weird to me.
I've only been up there one time.
Yeah, cool little town. I mean, it's great for just to hang out for like a Saturday or whatever.
Yeah.
And we'd go to the cigar shop down there. Can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. Old Menor Cigar Shop, that's what it was called. In this little house.
Been there.
It was just right down the road from a Red Wine Brew who also sells cigars. But there's no lounge, but there's a lounge there. We really didn't hang out there, but they actually had a axe throwing pit in the back of the shop.
That would be fun.
That was cool. And they had like a bocce court and stuff like that. But we would never, we did the axe throwing thing a couple times, but we'd always go back to after the movie. What are you questioning?
Was there any drinking going on?
I think there were some bottles out there, maybe.
I don't like that.
That seems like a big liability.
They have one in Columbus.
Yeah, I know, and they are professionals. They run an axe throwing.
Maybe that's why they're not.
This was at a cigar shop?
Anymore. Yeah, this was a cigar shop.
Did you have to sign a waiver? No,
not
that's
that.
why they're
I
not
don't
business.
I don't
It was
think
a
I
bad
Someone got lobbed
Saturday
off.
night.
But,
I don't want to have a dartboard in our shop, let alone
Right.
axe throwing. I do not trust. Brad's over here like, I think we can do the axe throwing. He's gonna come in the shop tomorrow with like a bag. What's in the bag? That's a different bag. Like, yeah, check it out. I got axes. Where are you gonna throw those?
But we grab our cigars. We go back to my back patio behind my mom's house, and we light up and smoke cigars. It was kind of our weekend thing that we would do. And I joined the Air Force. Went to basic military training, and couldn't smoke during that time. So that was like 6 months of no smoking, or 3 months. And then when I graduated, I got into tech school, which happened to be in San Antonio, Texas, same as my basic. We were hanging out at the Riverwalk one day, and we were walking outside, going to get our Uber, and I noticed there's a cigar shop. I'm like, oh, cigar, I mean, that sounds great right now. So I walked in there, grabbed a couple cigars, and I took it back with me, and we smoked them that night during our weekends. And I just started doing that, and when I got to Dayton, I'm like, I gotta find a cigar lounge. It's just, I gotta find something to do.
Right.
And good way to network with people, figure out stuff, and run the Dayton area. Even though it's only 4 hours away from my house, I've only been to Dayton probably, or at least through Dayton, probably 3 times. And found this one shop, didn't really care for the way, that's just a whole other story. But then I was like, there's gotta be somewhere else. So I went to the Stogie Smoke Stop, and I was hooked ever since. Started going there, having a cigar once a day, and then now it developed to 2 years later. Now I'm like all in, just loving the whole culture, lifestyle. I love the fact I can go somewhere, kick back, relax, bring my own bottle in, just kick
Allegedly.
back, allegedly, and just relax and have fun with a bunch of guys. And it's funny. I tell my mom this all the time. She's like, "How old are the guys that hang out at that shop?" I'm like, it varies. That's the best way I should put it. I'm like, it varies, but it's a lot of older guys that I hang out with. But it's also a great way I've got to meet some people. I mean, I know people that own restaurants now. I know if I ever need anything, I got people that know people and other things. They tell them, hey, I sent you. So it's a great way just networking. I've gotten around Dayton a lot, and it just ended up just bringing out a lot of friendships, and I just love it. It's a relationship thing, and it's just building great relationships is I think is one of the great things about this culture that we're talking about.
Pause. Gonna save it real quick.
By the way.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll have to do that next.
Dustin, what about you? How'd you get into this? Obviously, you enjoy the cigar culture as well.
I do. You know, I started in college. You know, a couple friends were bringing us some cigars. It was, you know, homecoming.
College experimenting, yeah.
Yeah, you know, and so every year at homecoming, you know, we called it Christmas because it was the time where everyone got back together. You know, you got to see people who graduated, and you got to branch out, meet new people, and you know, some friends of mine, they'd bring, you know, a couple cigars, and we'd, you know, smoke them to kind of celebrate, you know, the weekend, and you know, so I got to try a couple then, and then that was really the only time I ever smoked, and then I graduated, and then my ex had brought back some cigars from the Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
And you know, to me, it was a kind gesture, it was a gift, and I thought, well, you know, if I'm gonna have a box of cigars, I need to have something to keep it in. So I started doing research on humidors, and the next thing you know, I'm learning all of the science behind it, and then, you know, where is it grown into the process, and I found myself down that rabbit hole, but I was loving every second of it. You know, I wanted to learn everything there was to know about, you know, the storing, not just how do you store it, but why.
Right.
You know, why do you store it this way? You know, what are the causes, the effects? You know, what are the different rolls, the different, you know, shapes, the different brands, you know, the different tastes, and, you know, then I wanted to try different things. And you know, when I moved back to Columbus, you know, I found myself, I went back to the Tinder Box, which was where I had went, and my first cigar purchase was actually for my brother's wedding. And that was the first time I met Steve, and he was the one who, you know, introduced me to the Monte Cristo White series, which became one of my favorites.
Classic.
Yeah, it is such a great cigar. You know, it was a great way to celebrate, and you know, when I moved back, that was the place I returned back to, because, you know, I love the Easton area. So I started going every so often, and I started going even more, and, you know, I became good friends with Steve, and then that's how I met Jake, and, you know, that's how I've met all of, you know, the great friends that I've got now, you know, people like Nate, and, you know, Brad, and, you know, a lot of the others in the shop. And to me, it's a relaxation. It's, you know, like you said, the culture of it. You learn so many different things about so many different people through simply smoking a cigar.
Yeah.
It forces you to slow down in a world and a society that's always go, 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 go. It's one of the other great things I love about whiskey. You know, they're both patient items. You have to be patient. You can't just, you know, puff down a cigar like you do a cigarette, you know, in 20 minutes and in you go. If you can, it's
more power to you.
Yeah, but no thanks. You know, I want to enjoy it. It's the same that goes with whiskey. You know, you pour a glass, you sip on it. You know, you tell a story behind it. You know, you tell stories. You know, people you're hanging out with. You share it. You enjoy it, and that's one of the things that really drew me in even more. You know, is that camaraderie with it. You go to a cigar shop and you sit down and you light up a cigar. You be sitting next to someone you've never met before.
Right.
Next thing you know, you leave and you're great friends. You might have swapped numbers, and you learn something about them. They learn something about you. There's age doesn't matter. What you do doesn't matter. Where you come from doesn't matter. Where you're going doesn't matter.
Right. Once you have this in your hand, you've got that common.
You do. There's that common interest.
Bond.
Yeah, it's a common bond.
There you go.
There you go. That's the word.
I was waiting.
Yeah, wait.
Yeah,
it was coming.
It's something that's really intriguing to me when it comes to it, and you know, I still am always wanting to learn and try different cigars. You know, that's why I love. You know, one of the many reasons I love Whiskey Wednesdays. You know, doing this podcast is you get to try something different. You get to try a different pairing. You know, you get to try a different bottle. You know, you get to hear different people's stories. You know, like yours, Tyler. It's fantastic. You know, 22 years old and you're already so in depth with the cigar industry. You know, that's monstrous. You know, it really truly is, and you know,
you get to meet some great people too.
You do, and you know, congrats to you on all of that and all of your successes you've had with that so far. And you know, the sky's the limit, to say the least. You know, one of the bucket lists for me is to go to the farms.
Yeah.
You know, go to the DR and check out farms. You know, Connecticut, and that's right here in the States.
Right.
You know,
now Florida.
The Monty White Vintage Connecticut is also one of my favorite cigars. You know, they've got a picture of the barn in the fields right around the wrapper. And
I showed you a picture of me with.
And he showed me the same thing. I'm like, I want to be there.
Right.
I want to be smoking that cigar in front of the barn.
Because it's that personal connection you got.
It is, and you don't really get to appreciate that until you sit down and smoke a cigar. And there's so many people that I've talked to, like, oh, you know, cigars, really? You don't really, you know, I don't smoke. Well, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, and it's just one of those things that really helps you branch out, socialize, network, like you said. And I truly love and am passionate about cigars and, you know, whiskey, bourbons,
Sure.
and everything.
It's that passion that you develop, and you just start wanting to know everything you're doing. Like like once I smoke a cigar, I'm like, all right, I want to know what's in this cigar. I want to know why it's in there. You know, it's just that whole, you know, degree of I want to know why I like this so much.
Yeah, and I've found myself doing that even more so when it comes to bourbons. You know, I feel like I'm more like Jake in that realm where, you know, I dive a lot more into. I know a good bit about the different distilleries, not near as much as he does, but I want to learn. I want to know, and you know, I want to do the same with cigars as well. You know, I want to try different things. Yeah, I want to try the different things. You know, having you know, Ricky Rodriguez on, that was phenomenal. You know, just hearing his passion and hearing, you know, his thoughts and ideas, and you know, the way he does things. You know, and his thoughts behind everything. It's just.
I like Ricky because I felt like he was more on my level as far as when he was talking about the flavors and the notes and everything like that. I mean, you got a master blender, you know what I mean? That this is his job, is to represent a company and also come up with new blends and work with people. And when he like reads the reviews and everything like that, like he just knows what he likes. Right. You know, he's not necessarily diving all in. He has to know which tobaccos taste like what so he can blend, but he's more like myself in my opinion, because I go through waves with all that stuff. You know, when we went down to Cuba, when we went to Connecticut, like I love it. I get re-immersed in it. Mm-hmm. But then it's like there's plenty of days that go by, you know, in the cigar shop or we're trying something new. I'll look at it and look it up and figure out where it's coming from, you know, as far as who's manufacturing it, what factory, what tobaccos are in it. And then there's other times where I'm just like, I don't care.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just want to know if it's a good cigar.
And I think partly that's because from the retail side of it, when you're in this culture, from the retail side of it, the thing that got me into the cigar culture and what I really enjoy about it is the people. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I really started embracing, I guess, the cigar culture when I was, and I've mentioned this in going back a year on the podcast, but when I was going through like relationship issues, like marital problems. And so it was one of those things where, because I didn't really have a whole lot of hobbies, somehow, you know, softball, all that stuff, we talked about that, but as far as groups of friends, it's almost like, it's not that I wanted to get outside the circle, but it's like, it was nice to get around people that they'd offer advice, they'd ask questions, or if they didn't want to talk, we didn't have to talk about it, but it was my ability to get away from the social circles, all like family and friends, that everyone, it's like the elephant in the room is the fact that, you know, I was currently separated for a few months and all that stuff, and I could go to the cigar shop and
you don't care about it. And it's that thing, it's on your mind.
I was able to step back. There were certain days that I was able to speak with individuals that had gone through similar things. Yeah. They'd gone through separation, divorces. There were people that were in a better off place now. There were people that I talked to over those that year or so that, you know, wish they would have done things differently. There were people that they were in a better off place, but they made the relationship work. Yeah. And I'm talking about people that were in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, like everything. And then they started sharing their stories, and I was able to really kind of start gathering just my own thoughts about it based on just this huge amount of info coming from other people and their life stories that I didn't know for the last 20 years of my life. You know what I mean? I was in my 20s at the time, and it was nice to be able to, when I didn't want to talk about it, the understanding, I think, with the cigar culture is that they're not going to pry.
Yeah,
there is gossip, there is a little bit of the clickiness in certain shops and certain, you know, we talk about the hobbies and like the forums and everything else. There is that, but what I like about when you get comfortable like you are with Stogie Smoke Stop, all of us with the Tinder Box at Easton, you get that home shop, you go in there and you talk to the people in there, and it's just, you don't even have to talk. Like, everyone dogs people for like being on their phones nowadays, but sometimes that's what you do with people that you're really comfortable with. Is like, we don't have to like really push the conversation. If it's just we're sitting there smoking a cigar and the conversation kind of slows down.
Yeah, you listen to music.
Yeah, you just look down your phone, you're scrolling through Facebook, you're reading an article, and then there's a conversation happening over here. You know what I mean? But when I needed it, you know, in my life, that really was a pivotal moment for me to be able to have these new people that quickly became very good friends. You know, we'll see it on there sometimes, you know, when Ray Cheshire comes on.
Yeah.
And he's in Vietnam, and he's not twice my age, he's in his 50s, but, you know, he was one that I remember I'd go up to the Tinder Box in the pub next door for the Irish pub we do a lot of our events with. You know, there was the Thursday night crew where, and Brad was, I think, a part of that at some point, because when he first moved to the area, he was living across the street at Easton Commons, and it's like, you would just show up, especially on Thursday nights, and sometimes it'd be 4 or 5 people, and other times there were, you know, 6 tables pushed together. There's 20, 25 people all smoking cigars, drinking, and then some of their significant others, or, you know, just random people that happen to be, you know, at the pub, and they're like, hey, do you mind if is anyone sitting there? And they're like, oh, why don't you just join us?
Right.
And it's just this really open arms type of a mentality there, where I think a lot of people not in the cigar culture, they think otherwise. Right. You know, they'll go into a shop, they'll think it's cliquey, but it's just the fact that it's almost like you have to, I don't want to say wear people down, but you keep coming back, and it's not just that one and done or one and out, which is fine if that's what we want to do.
Right. You
know, you grab your cigars, say hi to like the person working there, and go back home and smoke on your patio. That's fine too, but I like the people in the industry and in the culture of the cigar shop.
I'm right there with you, and that's, you know, I failed to mention that. That's what really drew me back even more to the shop was, you know, I moved back, you know, like you had just gone through, you know, a breakup, and, you know, I had a few friends here in town, you know, my brother, you know, one of my other best friends, Cedric, who's been on, I mean, that's really all I had around here. And, you know, so I started coming to the shop a little bit, and then started coming a little bit more, and I got to meet, you know, different people, and I started talking to different people, and got to know them, and next thing you know, I'm like good friends with them, and we start hanging out, you know, hanging outside the shop, and, you know, just, you know, to your point, Steve, it's, you may be going through stuff, and you don't know what other people are going through either, but you don't have to pry. You don't have to ask questions. You can, you know, if they want to talk about it, you know, maybe that's another version of an outlet for them.
Right.
You know, for me, it's it is sometimes an outlet where, you know, I'll go to the shop, but I'm not talking about anything.
Right.
But for me, it's a way to relax and hit the reset button. You know, I may come in, you know, play some checkers or sparkle or Farkle or whatever it might be. Sparkle, you never know.
Sparkle pony.
It's sparkle. I mean, that helps me out. You know, and you don't know who you're going to meet. You may not have full-on conversations with everyone. Sometimes you will, but it's that camaraderie that when you walk into the shop, especially at the Tinder Box at Easton, you're always welcome. You know, you're going to see.
Oh yeah, you got to welcome them with open arms.
Well, but they're going to say, you know, hey, how you doing today? Can I help you find something? But they may not even say anything. But it's when you walk in, you feel at home.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're going to have certain, you know, a group at this table. You're going to have a group at this table. You may have, you know, Brad and the rest of the, you know, yeah, whatever you want to call them. You know, hanging out, you know, in the back part of the shop. You know, just relaxing. You know, they've been there for 10 hours already, and the shop's only open for 9. And
yeah, I think Brad opened the shop a couple times this last week.
But you walk in, there's not really that clickiness.
Right.
You know, you may have some in some other shops. There may be still some. You know,
it's not even clickiness.
it's.
But I know what people are saying.
Yeah, but you can sit down with any one of those groups, especially with the regulars.
Yeah.
And Brad and the rest of the guys could be having a conversation, and I sit down. They're almost twice my age. Could be parents, grandparents. You just never know. Hey, Brad. But you can join
your ass.
That's
what Brad's thinking right now.
With Ron's ass.
Yeah.
You can jump in the conversation just like anyone else, and they'll welcome you with open arms.
Yeah.
Right. And that's one of the things that is truly amazing with, especially the shop at Easton.
Well, it goes everywhere because I kind of joked that I said Sparkle Pony because Brad and I went out to a Cigar Fest, which CI puts on every year, and I was lucky enough to be invited from Brad, and I met all these guys. We probably had about 8 people in the house. I'd say we rented a cabin. I know we've told stories about that trip on this podcast before, but
some probably shouldn't be said.
No, I mean, it was all good. Yeah. My favorite for me was that climb up the spiral staircase after everyone else had gone to bed, and I was thinking that another pour would be great. No, I basically literally climbed up the spiral staircase, and luckily there were I think 3 beds up there because I just landed on the closest one that I was not sleeping in the night before. But it was cool because something that people don't always realize too is that whether you do it on your own or you do the forums, whatever it is, but the cigar culture is fantastic because we're out there and these are guys that they had met through a forum, then they started doing these mobile herfs, which for people at home, that's what they call it, like getting together and smoking, right? And so they would do it on Google Hangouts.
Okay.
And so you'd be on your iPad, you'd be on your computer or whatever, and it's like, if you're not familiar with Google Hangouts, it's like you basically have all the little screens, real tiny.
You can do a messenger too, Facebook Messenger.
Yeah, this one, when the person's talking, they take the main screen, and then, like that's one of the settings, and it was a really cool thing. So they had known each other for some time, and I'm getting introduced to this group, and at different ages, different backgrounds, all over the country, and it was so cool because when I described it to people, they're like, well, how was it? You meet the guys and all. I would have thought that like these guys went to college together. Right. The openness, the giving each other shit, like all this stuff that we do in the shop. It's like if someone comes into the garage here on a Wednesday night when we've got like say 10 people here, and they're like, how do you guys know each other? Like you look around the room and it's like none of this really fits. You know what I mean? Because everyone's dressed differently. They got different ages. You got you got
the doctor over there. You got the car mechanic.
Yeah, there's different cars. There's different cars out in the driveway and everything like that. But it's like you're like, oh yeah, we just all smoke cigars together. And this was a step even further. It's like, are you guys? You're not even from the same state. You know what I mean? You had Bruce from New York. You had, I think, a guy from Texas, Pittsburgh, Georgia. I mean, yeah, everyone here. And it literally was kind of like, these guys have been doing this for the last 25 years. They meet up once a year in a cabin, and whoever can make it. Like, no, these guys just met online, and then they started smoking together from all over, and they have the same stories. It's so funny. It's like being in the back of the shop where you're just sitting there sharing a bottle or whatever like that. Brad's told me stories about some of the times where it's like, and I'm not going to say who, but you can see that person getting drunker and smoking and all that stuff, and it's like then they start giving each other shit, and then that person leaves the room, and they talk about them, and they make fun of them, and then comes back and they make fun of them more, and I mean it's just like that kind of camaraderie.
It's what men do,
Well, and that's funny you say men because there's plenty of females.
Oh, there's plenty, yeah.
And it's so fun too. I mean, I had that conversation with Tanya, who's been on the podcast before. We literally were just talking about, she was talking about a store she went into, and it was almost like she had to reiterate that she was buying cigars for herself, and they did the stereotype of the flavored stuff's over here, this and that, and all that stuff. And it wasn't more than like 5-10 minutes later, someone came in and we're like, well, what would be good? And this guy was looking at acids. And I showed him the blind. He's like, oh, would that be good for a girl? And I'm like, I don't want to be a smart ass. It's like, I mean, I typically am, but I was just like, it was funny because Tanya's sitting up there. I had to tell her afterwards. I'm like, told the guys, like, no, like, we've got plenty of women that are smoking and hanging out too.
Right.
and you're buying acid Cuba Cubas, which is fine if that's what you like.
Yeah.
But just because it's a smaller cigar doesn't mean like that's not lady size.
Right.
We don't come in, you know what I mean? Like it's not like
you don't just stereotype it.
Right, right. But I do love that about the culture, that you can't do all this stuff. You just hang out, you can talk, and all that.
Well, the whiskey and the bourbon culture is the same way.
It is.
A lot of the groups that I'm in, you'll get obviously some groups. You'll have some people that turn it into a dick swinging contest, but you'll have some of those in cigar shops too. Walk in, throwing money everywhere. Like, all right, cool, good for you. But it's the same kind of camaraderie with that. We have a lot of friends. A lot of mutual friends, especially, who are in the bourbon world, who also smoke cigars as well, and some who don't. But it's sharing those commonalities with one another, and you can pop open a bottle, and you can each pour a glass. You can talk about the bottle. You talk about where did you get it, and then the conversation progresses, and it doesn't matter what you do, where you're from. It's about the bottle. It's about that time. It's about those memories, and that's one of the biggest things. We've talked about the documentary Neat, and Freddie Johnson, who was one of the gentlemen on there. One of the lines he said that still stands out to me to this day, and it holds true with cigars too. But bourbon's meant to be drank. It's about the memories. It's about the stories. It's about the camaraderie. It's let me tell you about this bottle. Let me tell you about where it came from. Let me tell you about when I bought it. Maybe there's a fun, unique story that comes with it. I've got a handful of bottles in my cabinet that are like that, and I love pulling them out and pouring a glass and talking about it, and telling my friends about those stories, and telling them about that bottle, and they may have similar stories that go along with it, or similar instances where they've had the same thing, and it's really, really cool to have that connection. As Phil Davis makes an appearance.
And all sorts of people just walking
bourbon
in
on
Thank you, Phil. Let me ask you guys a question. Does it matter if you're in like cigar culture, in a cigar shop, for those watching that are more bourbon people or aren't even cigar smokers, and they might have tuned out because of this, but just the conversation, does it matter to you that what the other person's smoking?
No, because there's a cigar made for everybody.
Right.
And that's one of the things that makes this such a cool thing, is because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you like acid, whether you like Ashton, or whether you like Drew Estate. What you like is what you like, and what you enjoy is what you enjoy, and that's the most important thing in this whole thing. Is that, or what Ricky says it great with like pairing. Like, I don't care if you drink Diet Mountain Dew with your cigar. If you like it and you think it works, who am I to tell you it doesn't? It's just the whole atmosphere about it is just like so inviting.
To me, it's definitely not whatsoever what the other person is smoking. I don't know how many times I've sat down next to Brad or Mark Jeremias or Hutch. They're smoking a Liga or a Cuban cigar, something that either I can't get my hands on, or maybe my wallet won't allow me to have that particular day, or most days out of the week. To me, it's the person. It hands down is the person. It's the fact that you're both enjoying a passion of your own that happens to be the same passion. I can sit down with a BS Gold, and the person next to me is smoking a Padron, but we walk out of there best friends. And that could be they smoke a Padron every time they sit down. The same goes with someone who's going to drink Jim Beam White Label. That's their drink. That's what they can afford. And I'll sit down. Maybe I pull a nice bottle out of my collection just because that's what I want to drink. I splurged a little on that one. It's not something I drink all the time, but we're going to sit down. We're going to have a drink. We're just going to have a conversation. It's the atmosphere. It's the person. It's the people around you more so than what you're smoking or what you're drinking.
I think when it comes down to it, I think it's an interesting phenomenon. The bourbon and the cigars, we're all sitting around here drinking out of glasses or bottles, apparently. But
You need a straw, Phil?
Smoking something, like, you gotta think about this, like what actually goes into the cigar culture, like where it all starts. Going back to the farms, like, who was the first guy that, you know, like, hey, this plant over here, I think I'm gonna roll it up and smoke it.
Yeah.
And then it develops and develops and develops, and then the end process, you know, when it comes down to this, what I like is like this podcast was all formed through that. Mm-hmm. And then as we're filming it, you know, we got a gentleman from Dayton who found out, you know, about the shop through like the Smoking 10 event and then the podcast and then through different, you know, through Facebook really. And then he comes up for it, and then we got Nate in the garage, and he's hanging out on his Wednesday night because it's something to look forward to. We got Brad in the garage, and he was at the shop earlier, and he likes hanging out, smoking, and having some drinks and being around good people. We have Hockey Dan, who's been on here before. He just popped in, and now he's back in, I think they're on the back patio or something like that. We've got some other friends over. And we got Phil that walks in, and, you know, he's been
chugging out of the bottle.
He was sipping. Like
sipping, okay.
But it's, you know, he was chiming in, you know, on the podcast, the feed, and all of a sudden my garage door opens and Phil's walking in. And it's like, that's something that I feel like I can't think of another hobby that happens.
Woodworking. I'm just kidding.
Maybe, I don't know. But I mean, you know, you have like bowling leagues, you have the softball leagues. I think like these other hobbies we were talking about last week. But when it comes down to this, that's where it's more of a culture, in my opinion, because it's not necessarily like, yeah, everyone knows that we're in the garage on Wednesday nights, but it's, you know, no one is necessarily specifically invited most of the time. It's just, it's almost like this open, again, that open arm,
it's an open door
culture, where it's just like, they're going to be there, I'm going to pop by, smoke a cigar, and have a drink.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about the shop, too, is that I know that's the way I felt. Kylie says she wants a cigar bowling league. That's not a bad idea.
I dig it.
But the way I felt when I was
gotta find a bowling alley.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
But it was. Nate says most hobbies don't involve random people walking in your house. They're not completely random. I mean, at least we know them.
Yeah,
they show up.
We at least know them. But it's when I went into the cigar shop, and I think you probably have this too, Tyler, is that you at least know one person.
Oh yeah.
And in our shop, it's usually we have two people at least working. So it's like even if you just pop in, you're gonna know two people. If you start to enjoy hanging out at that shop, it's kind of like what I was saying earlier about the Fido patio. It's like you pop in and shoot. Some of these guys and girls we open up at 10 and they're there at 9:30 and just hanging out. And then the next thing you know, I gotta go home for dinner.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, you know, it's like our shop down in Dayton, you know, we have like, it's almost like designated days. So like Saturday, the shop opens up an hour early, and we play Cuban dominoes. Like there's probably like 10 to 12 people every Saturday that show up and play dominoes. We usually have one or two tables going, and some guys are standing out there at 9:30 just waiting to get in, because that's something they're looking forward to. That's part of their Saturday ritual, is to stop by the shop and play Mexican or Cuban dominoes. And we do the same thing Tuesday nights. Tuesday nights is like our drinking night. You know, we got the back bar pretty much, and everybody brings a bottle, and they all line it up along the bar, and you know, we just have at it. You know, and if someone walks in like, hey, can I have a sip of your Willet? Sure, yeah, get a cup. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. But I will say this, and it has happened before. More recently, the thing that you have to understand, and I will say this is almost like a tip, you don't necessarily have to, like you said, Dustin, earlier, like everyone's different wallets and everything like that, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like you can learn a lot from the people you're sitting around when it comes to like offering them like that Willet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You offer them a glass.
Yeah.
You're not necessarily doing it to like look for it back at some point.
Oh
like,
no,
you don't have
you
to
just
do
do
that.
it because you're a nice guy, and it's part of the whole idea of it.
But at the same time, we do find that there are people that don't have the common, I guess, sense or decency, courtesy that they then look at.
There's always one.
There's always at least one. But it happens at different times. But it's like then all of a sudden they come back in and they're expecting another cigar, another drink, another whatever, and you're just like.
Then you unfortunately have to break it down to be like, hey, bud, you know, I can't give you another one unless at least, you know, You get those guys who just come in and just grab the bottle and pour it, and you're like, all right, if you would have just at least asked, that would have been enough.
Right.
But don't just come in walking in just thinking you own the place and you own everything and just start pouring.
Well, I mean,
or grab a cigar.
Yeah, it's not even manners as much as that's part of it for me as far as the culture of a cigar shop, and even the hospitality. Like when I went down to Miami, and the way that the hospitality of Eric Espinosa, when we were down in Cuba, it was the same thing. It's like everyone would do, like they would take their shirt off their back if you needed it, and there's nothing expected back, but just like anything else in life, take cue, like take notes and take that cue and say, you hope to do it, not necessarily, it's that whole pay it forward thing, right?
Exactly.
It's not necessarily you have to give them, like next time you see them, give them a cigar, and that's always nice to do, or you bring in a bottle, and hey, I know it's not as fancy as this, one of so many 100 bottles of, Saints and Sinners Willet, but I brought in Evan Williams single barrel tonight, if you want a drink. And it's just the reciprocation and paying that back or paying it forward, I think, is a big part that the culture really breeds. Because when that one individual, that there's always one, they stick out like a sore thumb.
Oh, yeah. And everybody knows it.
They're the last one to know it. They're the last one.
Right. It's the, like you said, it's that paying it forward. It's the gesture more than anything. There's times I'll come in, we'll bring a backpack or something. I'll have a few different bottles because, people like different things, and I like trying different things, but I also like sharing. This one of the many things I love about bourbon is it's not just a matter of, you enjoying it yourself, but it's allowing others to enjoy the same things that you enjoy.
Yeah.
And, the cigars go the same way. I don't know how many times I've been, on a Wednesday night or, when I went down the Bourbon Trail and, we're outside smoking, and I've offered numerous people cigars.
Yeah.
Whether they want it or not, that's fine. If they don't, all right. If they would love one, pick one. I might have a couple in there that I'm saving for something. I say, maybe not those couple, but any of the others, by all
don't
means,
take my Steve Saka unicorn.
Right.
Yeah, but by all means, in a sense, what's mine is yours.
Sure.
If you want to pour, I'll pour me a glass, and if I'm sitting at the table, and there's 3 or 4 people around, and let's want to drink, so go grab you a cup, pour you something. It's that camaraderie that I think comes with it, and you're going to have the people that are the mooches who come in and expect getting something for nothing, But I think just paying it forward is something that is lost in today's world, in general, not even just in the cigar world or the whiskey world, but in the world itself. Something that's as simple as opening the door for someone. Prime example, we stopped to get dinner the other night, and we're leaving BB Bop, and my daughter, who's 5, we're leaving, and there's a couple coming in. They were still a good, 10 yards, 20 yards from the door. Mm-hmm. And we're like, come on, Kane. She's like, no, I need to hold the door open for them. And we both turned around, and not thinking anything of it, we're like, no, come on, we got to get going. We get back in the car, and I'm like, well, we were fucking assholes.
Right. We just told
5-year-olds want to do the fucking manners, and we're like, God. Right in front of no, don't worry about it. They can open their own fucking door. But
they don't have a walker, they can do it.
Yeah, but seeing that, it's, get back in the car, and I'm like, well, fuck.
Not insinuating people with walkers can't open doors.
But something as simple as opening the door for someone goes 100 miles, because we don't even do that shit.
Right.
Well, I think you said it pretty well earlier about the bourbon or the whiskey and cigars. It's the patience, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's slowing down, and I think that's kind of what you're hitting there. Is that in today's world, that's not necessarily a thing.
No, everyone asks you like, how you doing today? I'm good.
I'm
good but busy. I'm good but busy. Well, how's your week? God, man, it was busy as hell. Okay, well, have a cigar.
Yeah.
It forces you to slow down, and you need that. And that's one of the things that I love about Wednesday nights, and one of, call it a selling point that I tell everyone that I'm telling about the podcast is everyone's chasing the weekend. Granted, I work most weekends anyways, being in retail. But
chasing your days off, basically.
Yeah, but even then, you're chasing your day off, or you're chasing the weekend. Well, what do we have in the middle of the week? Nothing. You don't have anything.
Yeah.
Well, we have Whiskey Wednesdays. we get together on a Wednesday night. We pour a glass. We light up a cigar.
We got the Tuesday night drinking crew.
Yeah,
it's
you're thirsty
Right.
Thursdays, but Wednesday nights, especially for myself, and I'm sure Jake and Steve are probably the same way, but it gives you that opportunity to hit the reset button in the middle of the week.
Yeah.
It forces you to stop, sit down, you pour a drink, you light up a cigar, and by the time you're done with the cigar and the glass or two, you're talking an hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours with conversation. Well, there's 2 hours that, you probably could have been doing something else, but you actually force yourself to sit down, relax, slow down, and enjoy it. And I think that's something that today's society needs. And I see cigars starting to make a little bit more of a comeback and an uprise, because I think people are starting to see that. You see the bourbon craze, and people getting together and having I want to say drinking parties, but table shares. People get together, they'll bring a bottle and sit on the table, and if you get around the right people, it doesn't matter what bottle you sit on the table. It's a matter of trying something else. Now, what bottle you sit down, you can't be mad if it gets killed.
That's true.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of trying something different. You get to talk with people who have the same hobby, the same passions as you do. But again, it forces you to slow down.
That's why I love going to different cigar shops. I love traveling around, hitting different shops, because I like to meet new people. I like to meet people that have the same interests I do.
Yeah.
And then you just find it. Like I go up to, every time I mentioned this to you, every time I go home, whether see family or whatever, is to, I always make it a purpose to stop at one of the shops up there on the way up there. It's called Havana House up in Bath, Ohio. I always go see my dude Matt and Josh.
Matty Cupcakes?
Matty Cupcakes.
Yeah, I know.
And I absolutely love stopping in there and chatting with them, especially on Friday nights, because that's when Matt and Josh both are there, the two guys who run the shop. And you just never know what's going to come up, and it is just a riot every time. And it's just part of it's that culture, because the first time I went in there, it was probably one of the best experiences I've ever had at a cigar shop. That's why I keep going back.
You gotta explain that. You gotta explain why that was the best.
Well,
what kind of follows in with the question?
Well,
go ahead.
there's always these debates they have. It would be like someone will bring, usually it's Josh for whatever reason, he'll always bring up the fact, like, he'll be sitting there and just go, do you prefer a Hellman's or Cool Whip?
Yeah.
Or not,
Miracle Whip?
Miracle Whip.
Miracle Whip.
And we'll spend like an hour just debating on whether or what's what. Now the one I will...
It's like the time I went on for about an hour about the bullshit of ketchup packets.
Miracle Whip all the way.
See, and there's one guy this is 100% true, walks in there. Now, let me remind you, Bath, Ohio is kind of like the ritzy area of Akron, so you can take this with a grain of salt. And they asked the guy, and he goes, the guy's never been there before, and he goes, what do I do? Do I look like I live in a trailer park? Insinuating that Miracle Whip's kind of like...
The fancy one?
No, not
That's
the fancy one. That's the cheap one.
I'm not a mayonnaise guy. I don't really know.
See, exactly. I
don't eat a lot of it, but
I grew
up on Miracle Whip.
Yeah, I like Miracle Whip. And I'm like, he's insinuating that, he's like, what do I look like? I live in a trailer
It's
park?
a strong opinion on mayonnaise.
He must like his helmets.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
It's
It's
a
like,
Kensington Mayo fan.
yeah, it's just debates like
That's
that.
bad.
Friday nights are just like that there. And it's just so much fun every time. But they give you an experience whenever you leave. That's the great thing about it.
Absolutely.
The main thing with cigars is that you should be, like, no matter what shop I go to, that Perdomo champagne is going to be the same Perdomo champagne I grab at any other shop.
Sure.
But what makes that Perdomo champagne so good is the experience I'm having with it.
Yeah.
Human beings are creatures that like to be emotionally moved.
Okay.
So, I mean, if you emotionally move someone, then you're going to end up getting a regular.
Yeah.
Because they like to do it.
So let me ask you this. Now, we had a previous episode in the middle of summer last year. You were at the DRC.
Okay.
And it was Jake and I, and we were graciously
at
over
Brian's,
at Brian's place. We had Ron on.
Yeah.
Great podcast. One of the things there was cigar stories.
Yeah.
So having you on, Tyler, as someone who's in the cigar industry, very passionate about it, what are one or a few of your favorite cigar stories, period, whether it be funniest, greatest, who you met, whatever it may be? And Steve, you go after that. Because I know you weren't on for Brian's episode, but it'd be interesting to hear your stories.
Most of mine involve drinking too. Very relevant to the
No,
podcast.
so that was
there are some good
doing the warming shop at 1 a.m.
You know, there's just it doesn't even have to be experiences, but it's just some of the days you have, and you know, you can have the worst day of your life, but you go to the cigar shop and yet just when you made your day 0 to 100, you know, it just completely flips it. Because you can have a terrible day at work, but then you go to the cigar shop and it's like that day never happened.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Steve, you go first. I gotta think of this. My best story.
There's countless ones for me as far as cigar stories. Jesus Christ. Like I said, I mean, after hours in the shop's always fun.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I'm not kidding. There was Brad laid down $10 because someone brought up the fact that I know how to do the worm.
I've seen that video.
I had that video.
I
had that video sent to me while I was at work one night. I'm like, the fuck?
Yeah, we weren't open, but it was one of those things where we were just.
You did the worm.
I sure did the worm on that hard commercial grade carpet with no pad. Turns out I think there's cement under there. So that was a fun one. I mean, obviously the stories that I can tell just from going down to Cuba, going to Miami, going to Connecticut, the actual like really like into the cigar industry stories.
Yeah.
But most of the time it's just the fun times at the shop, in the garage, you know what I mean? There's plenty of times, like I said, you talk about drinking stories. It's, you know, you have those times where you Mongo is a good one, Brad says. So we're down in Cuba. I can't remember. We probably did talk about it when Brandon and you were on, but it was something that, you know, like we're 2:30 in the morning in Havana, and Brandon, our buddy, is just in the pool, and Brad and I are just sitting there smoking cigars and still drinking rum, and sure enough, he's just hanging on the side of the pool in it and waiting for the floating chlorine tablet things.
Yeah.
As soon as I got closer, I started noticing this, and it's just like all of a sudden you hear a splash. Like, what the fuck was that? And it's Brandon basically hanging out. Luckily he wasn't too drunk to be in the pool, but he was definitely at that level, and that was his entertainment while he and I are sitting there talking, listening to music. You got Brandon in there just waiting for I don't think he was smoking anything other than cigars, but it was one of those things. It's like as this thing floated closer to him, he would just take it and just chuck it across the pool. And this went on like for probably 20-25 minutes. I don't know how he was entertained. But then of course, I also have about 15 minutes of video of commentating this phenomenon of Brandon doing this. I started it, Brad took it to a whole nother level and basically went full Steve Irwin. And if he had been training the primates and how everything that Brandon was doing was such a proud moment as the trainer, spending all these hours working with this animal. So anyone not there, that sounds so stupid, but that's the whole point of it, is that it's just something
it's
so
moronic,
silly.
but it's great.
And we've got grown men pulling out their phone to do commentary on a fake YouTube video, basically. And no one else understands it. And then we wake up next morning, Mark's like, sounds like you guys were having fun last night when I woke up to you guys roaring laughing. Just two grown men drunk off their ass watching another grown man throw things in the pool. Smoking cigars. That's why it's a cigar story.
What do you got, Tyler?
Just because this one's more recent, I mean, one of the best things that I've experienced was going to Las Vegas last year. It was my first time going to Las Vegas, and we went for the Cigar Aficionado Big Smoke.
Nice.
And, that was just like one of those aha moments, because walking around, I wasn't just getting a cigar from all these booths and all these vendors with all these guys. I was there meeting some of, quote unquote, my idols in the cigar industry.
Right.
And I'm meeting Nestor Plasencia, Lito Gomez, Pete Johnson. I met Pete the night before at Casa Fuente. All these guys, Dion Giolito. I mean, just some of these guys that George Padron, some of the guys I just look up to at this point.
Sure.
Because they're just something like, I have so much respect for the art and craft that they do. And that moment was just like, it was just like great. And I was in awe at that time.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I'm in this room with all these guys, that are all sharing like the same thing, and they all started out at some point like me to some degrees, and it just opens my eyes to be like, I want to have my own booth at Cigar Culture Stogie Smoke one day.
I think you probably will.
Yeah.
Like that's like how far my passion has gone, because it went from being just a weekend cigar guy, just smoking, relaxing, having fun with buds, to practically hanging out at the cigar lounge every day, meeting guys. I've got practically all the people you've had like as reps on here are friends of mine.
Right.
And just some of the connections I've made with guys, and some guy like Jonathan Herring has taken great care of me. We've left his shop plenty of times. I went down to the Oregon District, which is like the bar scene in Dayton, right outside downtown. We've had drinks,
Yeah.
just stuff like that. It's just a great time.
It's that community.
It's that community that you really just appreciate, and you just hope it does work out at the end. In which, our Spenny was on last week, and he's a friend of mine from our cigar group.
Nice.
And he was talking about how he doesn't he's worried about the FDA and stuff like that, and getting into the industry and stuff like that. To me, that's the last thing I'm thinking of. My first thing I'm thinking of is getting my foot in the door. I want to get my foot in the door. I want to get on the ground, get running, and I think the FDA should be the last thing I'm worried about, because at the end of the day, how long has our government been wanting a tobacco-free world? A very long time.
Sure.
I mean, I got a buddy who tells me stories about in the 70s how they were going to make cigarettes illegal at one point. And look at it today. It's a billion-dollar industry now.
Oh, it's not even making it a smoke-free world or tobacco-free world. It's about making it a vape-free world is what the argument is now.
Right.
Kylie was asking also, put her work hat on, where do you work? Kylie, Tyler is not in the industry, doesn't work. But as soon as he's done with his years with the Air Force,
August of 2020, the hottest free agent in the cigar.
Put money on the fact that someone's going to snatch him up, retail or otherwise. So stay tuned for this guy as he gets through that. Absolutely.
And the crazy thing is, I look at all these guys and I'm like, geez, hearing like Pete Johnson's story is so inspiring. Hearing John Huber's story, the owner of Crown Heads, one of the co-owners of Crown Heads, hearing their stories is so inspiring to me, because I can take Miguel, very good friend of mine. I mean, it's like, I can just like sit back and be like, all right, I'm practically in their shoes at this time right now. And I think I'm just going at it as, the only one stopping me from doing what I want to do is me.
Yeah.
That's my mindset.
I like that.
I love it. Yeah.
Well, then Ricky was the same way, right? I mean, that you were here in the garage that night, and it's the fact that he said no to that person a couple times until he got hooked up with the tobacco company. He's like, hey, what do you think about this? He's like, okay. And now
because he had that personal connection with it.
Right, exactly. All right, so Dustin, you asked a question. I mean, cigar stories. Go ahead, share.
So, I guess mine is pretty similar along the lines of what yours is, Tyler. Is that whole fanboy type aspect.
Oh, thanks.
No, but I mean, you're
enthusiast.
Enthusiast, but you're.
I'm a fanboy. I'm a fanboy.
You're much more. I don't want to say in depth in it than I am in a sense, but I look back at when I first moved back to Columbus. The first cigar event that I went to was the Prime Rib Dinner when Eric Espinosa was there.
Nice.
Great dude.
I got to meet Eric. He was the first one in the industry that I ever got to meet.
Yeah.
As far as outside the shop, and for me that was like a oh my god moment.
Yeah.
I
was the same way with Christian Aurora. Christian Aurora was the first cigar celebrity, quote unquote cigar celebrity I've ever met.
Yeah.
And I was at the beginning when I first got to Dayton, was when I first met him. And I got so much respect for that guy, because he sat down, took the time with me, and just like wanted to know everything I was about.
Yeah.
Not to interrupt.
No, you're fine. So that was a huge thing for me. I got to learn a lot about him. Ask him questions, got my picture taken with him. It was phenomenal. And fast forward a little bit, got to go to my first Smoking Tent event that year, which was amazing. I loved it. You had its hiccups, but Steve and the crew handled it.
Which one was that? The one they
the fire, the fire marshal, 6
hiccups, yeah.
Hiccups. But Steve and the crew
that was my first one too.
Handled it flawlessly.
Fuck.
Great first impression.
But I had one of my best friends there.
Coming back.
From college, and we both had a blast. Then we started the podcast and got to have different people on, got to meet more people, get to learn people's backgrounds, different people in the industry, and then coming around to the Smoking Intent event this year, my best friend came back, and I had another buddy of mine that I met when I lived in Richmond, Indiana, who I still talk to every now and then. He's come up and visited a couple times. He came up actually for the prime rib dinner that year and got to meet Eric Espinoza too. So he came up for the 10 event this year and brought up a buddy of his who was just getting into cigars. So for them it was their kind of fanboy experience, but me being a little bit more ingrained in the industry, having been on the podcast and met different people, it was really, really cool for me to go around and introduce them to these different people and say, hey, this is Rob from Rocky Patel. He's their rep. Introduce them, we have a conversation, joke around, talk to Jonathan and introduce them, and Eric Espinoza comes up, introduce them and get pictures and everything. You just see all their faces light up. And for me that was it was a really cool experience because it wasn't necessarily me getting to meet all of them, but it was me bringing the people that I know and that I care about into the industry and that culture and allowing them to experience all of that as well. That was a huge thing for me, and I think that was probably one of my most favorite experiences because it boils back down to the people.
Yeah, I mean my first kind of event. I mean I had my dad. My dad was in town, so I had him go with me. I bought steak and everything for his birthday and everything.
Nice.
And it was funny because I was going from booth to booth because I pretty much knew everybody that was there doing it, stand at the booths. And I was introducing my dad to everybody, and even Omar, Eric, people like that. And at the end of it, my dad's like, "Wow, you actually been doing stuff."
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm not just sitting at a cigar lounge doing nothing. I'm working here. I built a lot of relationships and a lot of good friendships with a lot of them, and all of the guys told me, "Oh, you got a great kid," all that normal stuff. And my dad was like, "All right, I see what you're going for." My mom and sister, on the other hand, they're still trying to figure it out. But I think I got my dad on my side for this.
Yeah, there was a time my mom, she didn't like the fact that I was smoking cigars, obviously,
right.
But yeah, I mean, she put some in my stocking, and then for the last over 6 years now, this is basically my life. And I mean, it's interesting hearing your guys' cigar stories, and I will say this because I'm proud of it and things that we've accomplished with the podcast, with the Smoky 10 event, with everything. You got a 10 event shirt on. I'm wearing a BS shirt. Jake just walked in the garage. I mean, the things that we have done, like my day to day basically is all these cigar stories, and actually, we got another Brian Fury just walking the garage. So this is my life now, basically. Is
right.
What I'm saying is that I was working at the cigar shop today, come home, do the podcast. Got a bunch of people just stopped. Brad stopped by right before the podcast. Didn't really announce it either. Didn't text me or anything. But everyone, I will reiterate that it's the welcoming culture of all of this, that all different walks of life, all different ages, backgrounds, everything. And it's I feel very fortunate that this is my life. It's an ongoing cigar story for me.
It really is.
Like living, breathing, day to day, every day. It's more rare for me to not be around people of the cigar culture. It's more rare that I actually go a full day with someone that doesn't smoke cigars or I light one up.
Right.
Yeah. I think one thing that I will say is I just want to say thank you to Steve, and everyone else who works at the shop for running such a phenomenal establishment. It takes you guys, being someone who works in the retail industry myself, you get that atmosphere from the moment you walk in.
Right.
You guys run a business there to where you welcome everyone from all walks of life, whatever you're looking for. If you're looking for, a cigar, someone who smokes 1 or 2 or 3 a day, knows what they like, but they want to try something different, all the way to someone who's just getting started in cigars, to the wives or even husbands or significant others who are looking for cigars for their better half or worse half, depending on who you ask. And to even extend even further, thanks to the people who actually, the regulars at the shop,
Yeah.
You know, the Tinder Box or, your shop, Tyler, who create even more of that atmosphere that when you walk in, it doesn't matter what you do, where you're from.
It's a big
or
old
what you're
family,
smoking.
man.
It really is, They give you that atmosphere. So when you walk in and you go sit down next to Brad Grinsmilly, he'll sit down and 10 minutes later he's having a drink and you've already had a conversation.
You don't drink.
No. Hey, I might find a
At the
Big
moment.
Ten. But
Currently.
they'll welcome you with open arms.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks volumes of the cigar culture. And the whiskey culture is a lot the same way.
Well, I'll tell you
for a lot of
that.
people.
So Julie, my old neighbor, so if everyone remembers the old Steve's Garage, Julie just chimed in and says, all ages and walks of life, even my girls like and miss Whiskey Wednesday. This is like her little daughters, you know what I mean? Like the fact that when I was moving away, one of the things that they said to me, they're like, oh, they're gonna miss seeing all your friends coming over.
Come over.
Yeah, I know. They're down the street. Julie, you guys, and Chris, and all the kids are always welcome, so they know where we're at. But I mean, that's even more so. People on the outside of it see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like me living next door to them, they saw all of this happening. All this stuff with Facebook and all the people in the garage and all that stuff. It's very impactful.
I think the podcast really is an extension of that.
That was the whole creation that Jake and I did. I mean,
It's absolutely.
We wanted to basically do the podcast about whiskey, cigars, and life, and that's where we're always coming back to. So it is nice that we can do this, and people all over the world can be a part of it.
Yeah, and I have a lot of friends and people that I work with or work for who I've come to find out that they smoke cigars. I'm like, oh well, I do a podcast and I talk to them about it.
Yeah.
And even the people who don't smoke cigars or drink whiskey, I've got a fellow ASM who doesn't smoke cigars, but she loves the podcast.
Really?
Yeah, she loves learning and hearing what we're talking about and the topic and the passion behind it. I had a gentleman chime in earlier. His name came up as Sauce Man DeMassimo.
I saw that. Yeah.
So funny story. He was a former English teacher of mine in high school, and he was both of my younger brothers' vice principal when they went through high school. He left the education industry and started his own company, and he makes pasta sauces. Yeah, pasta sauces. He's Italian, so it's family recipe.
Yeah.
And he sells it. It's all local. I ran into him when I was at the Kroger in New Albany helping them out, and so we were talking, really catching up. I hadn't seen him in decades, it seems like, and I told him about the podcast, and it was funny because he messaged me later on. He goes, I saw you the second you started talking about it, your face lit up.
Yeah, that's cool.
He said, I could tell you're passionate about it. I said, oh, I am. I love it. And that's one of the things that you see people like yourself, Jake, me, or Steve.
Yeah.
Jake sitting in the back.
All right,
Tyler.
we're gonna move that glass.
No.
He's got more hair.
Put some water in there.
But you see all these people who are so passionate about the cigars or the whiskey or the podcast and really strive in it. And they can take that passion and see it and use it in the things that they love.
Absolutely.
I would like to personally thank Altitude USA for this Monte Cristo Monty by AJ. It is going delightful with this Willet pot still.
There you go.
Want to throw that out there.
Tyler, what do you have to say to close it out here?
If you are listening and you've never stepped foot in a cigar lounge, I highly, highly recommend you to step in a cigar lounge, talk to your local tobacconist, get involved, try it out. I'm sure whatever local tobacconist you're around, if you're in the Columbus area, go to the Easton Tinder Box.
Thank you.
If you're in Dayton, stop by Stogie Smoke Stop. We'd be more than happy to help you.
Yes.
Get involved. If you're not in it, you're missing out. It's a great community to be a part of, and it's a great culture to live every day.
Dustin?
You sure you don't want to go first?
Go ahead, buddy.
Brad, you got the timer going?
Not yet.
Not yet? Phil, you got something?
Yeah, it's the first time I've been to the podcast. My name's Phil McGillicuddy, and I'm glad to be here. And I'd love to ask a few questions. Steve, do you officially live in the garage?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Dustin.
That's where I sleep.
Dustin, would you ever shop at Giant Eagle?
If I had to, yes.
And then the new guy that why I'm here, I was protesting at first. I thought it was Jake's replacement, and I'm glad that it's not. I'm very thankful. Why'd you join the Air Force? Why not, the Army or the Marines, like where the real men join?
Wow.
I get taken care of a lot better in that branch than the others.
That's a good answer.
Hey, thank you very much. I
Good.
appreciate it.
Phil, good to have you.
No disrespect whatsoever.
I do want to say to active members, thank you for your guys' service, especially with Memorial Day happening on this past Monday. So,
Shout out to Jack, also Liz's brother.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you guys for all that you do, and everyone who have done everything they have, laid down their lives for us. The cigar culture is hands down second to none. It's really brought me into a whole different world. It's opened me up to a lot more, not just friends, but really great close friends, best friends, family. And there's no other way to put it, really. So you just like Tyler, you said, if you've not been to a cigar shop or lounge, check it out, especially if you do enjoy cigars. Find a local shop. Even if you have to drive a little bit to get to the one that you like, do it. I love Tinder Box at Easton. It is my shop. And I'm not just saying that because Steve and everyone else here, but I really truly do love walking in every time that I do. And it's just that welcoming atmosphere. So I really, really challenge people to do that. Broaden your horizons. Find those hobbies that you're passionate about. That really allow you to branch out and network with people and find other things that you're interested in, whether it be cigars or whiskey or, woodworking, whatever it may be. But really, really do that because you need that in today's world.
Yeah.
Because it is go, 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 go. Everyone's so busy. It's so fast paced. You need something that allows you to hit the pause button.
Absolutely. And we talked about that with the hobbies last week as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
No matter what it is.
One guy who I respect a lot in the industry, Michael Herklots,
Yeah.
from Nat Sherman. I was doing some watching on YouTube their tour of the Nat Sherman Townhouse in New York City, and the great quote he uses is that when you walk in, you leave New York City outside, and you're not in New York City once you walk into the Nat Sherman Townhouse.
Right.
So I think that's one of the best things about it is the fact that you leave the outside world outside, and once you walk in that cigar shop, you're in your own little world. You're in your own. You've got your peace and quiet, or maybe not quiet, but you're in your quote unquote Zen moment.
Yeah. Little haven.
Yeah.
I want to thank obviously Tyler for being here, coming out of his way, hour and a half about. Driving here to bring cigars from Stogie Smoke Stop. Thank you, Robbie from Stogie Smoke Stop. Willet, that was amazing. Really had to have some self-control there and start pouring out a different bottle because I do not want to kill that bottle of yours because that is a nice bottle.
Well, I brought it.
Yeah, I know. Altadis, like you said, that's great plug there. I just lit up the Monty by AJ. It's a fantastic cigar. If you guys are listening, you're in the Columbus area, you want to take advantage of 15% off since we don't carry the Tennessee Waltz. We'll be doing 15% off all week until the close of the shop on Tuesday on Monty by AJ. So
great deal.
Thank you all to this. The BS Cigar Company, I do want to mention that there's going to be some changes coming with some of the cigars from our offerings. So stay tuned, and we're going to be working hard to try to make some decent, significant changes as far as some of the blending and who we're using and everything like that. The silver is going to stay the same. Espinosa's doing a great job. The gold will be retooled. So if you do want to grab some of the last remaining golds made by Aganorsa Leaf, I encourage you to do so before you can never do that again. So it's a sad day to say that, but I encourage you guys to snatch them up while you can. We do have some in inventory as it stands, and that's again our third sponsor, Tinder Box at Easton, where I work, and thanks to Brian Joyce. So I will say that in Cigar Culture, if you're listening to the podcast, then you already enjoy it. That's why you're listening. That's why I'm sitting here talking to two great guys, and thank you guys for sharing everything you guys did. That was really, really impactful and nice. But seeing now, we originally had 2 people in the audience, now we have 5 people in the audience. There's more people inside the house, so even more so of the cigar culture. But it's interesting when you look back at all this, it is for us the epitome of the cigar culture, all the way from the farms to doing a podcast about it. You have someone that has impacted you and gotten you into cigar culture, and he doesn't always listen. You mentioned him earlier, Dustin, but Brian, the owner of the shop, he's been doing it for 20 years. We've talked about him before. Like I said, he's been on one episode when I was out of the country, but it was something that he has created, this culture. He started that, but then really, I'll go back to it, what really makes the cigar culture as great as it is, and all the benefits that you can get from it, the conversations, the life lessons, the sounding board, when you need a sounding board that is not your significant other or someone in your family or friends you've known forever. They become those people just based on a common interest.
Yeah.
And really what makes the cigar culture, it takes someone to start it, but then it's everyone that's involved in it. It's the people that you surround yourself with. It's, they say that, the saying is like, if you want to better yourself, be around better people. And I think that's really where the value of the cigar culture comes into, because from start to finish, there's passion in the product itself. And then when it comes down to consuming it, you can do it on your own if you want and be around family or be on your back deck. I think that's fantastic. But if you truly want to and see that you have a need for something new in your life, or you want to be able to grow, be around people that can help you do that. And I think that's really where the cigar culture for me is really, look at me, like 7 years ago, I had gone through a divorce. I was, not happy with the job, parted ways. Now this is my life, and it's something that all these cigar stories, all the cigar culture, I wake up every day and I get to have the privilege of living this culture day to day, keep learning, meeting all the rock stars that you're talking about in the industry, and then also becoming friends with people. And then, like, again, looking around the garage, you have people that age from 22 to in their 50s. And after we end
and then there's Brad.
And then there's Brad. Still kick your ass. But I just think that that's the fortunate part about all this. And so we thank you guys for tuning in tonight, and look forward to feedback on the podcast. Jake, we're looking forward to having you back. Jake's in the garage. He's not on camera.
Woohoo!
So we'll get him back in a couple weeks here as soon as Todd's back from vacation. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Cheers. Happy Whiskey Wednesday.
Woo!